I wish I had taken more risks. Playing it safe, just when you're at the end of your life, big regret.
Did you push record?
Thank you so much for joining us today on Second Act TV. I'm so happy to welcome back one of my favorite guests and friends. We've got to be friends now, Rick, haven't we?
Absolutely.
Also known as the Tattooed Traveler. I guess you can tell by looking at him. Rick Higgins. Rick, thank you so much for joining me today.
It is a pleasure as always.
Well, I'm glad to have you back. Rick is the creator of Mastering the Second Half, a great channel that also focuses on recreating your life after 50. And you are really in the midst of recreating your life with your last video, which we'll link to. And that really prompted this segment, Rick, is that as we cross that 50 mark, we realize we don't have that much time left, and you start thinking about how you want to live the rest of your life. And one of the biggest regrets that people who are on their deathbed say is not following your dreams. I'll throw it over to you. Tell me about this new venture.
It's probably one of the scariest things I've ever done. Basically, I'm just going to quit my job and wander the world. And the reason I did that when the links that you sent me were really, really hit home is that I just recently turned 60. And you start thinking about traditional retirement, and you're supposed to work, and then retire into a Barcalounger and maybe do things. I'm young, I'm active, I have the ability to do things now. So I don't want to be that person on their deathbed going, oh, if only I had X or if only I had done Y. And so what I decided to do was just do it. I don't want to be that person who's 75, 80, however long I get to live, and look back and go, why didn't I? So I'm doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the links you're referring to, of course, is I did, as I usually do, I kind of research my topics. And one of the big authors, I guess, or she was a hospice nurse or a palliative care nurse, I should say, Bronnie Ware. And she recorded the regrets of people who knew they only had a few weeks left to live. And that really got me thinking, this is something that what can we learn from that? And one of the most common ones, as we just mentioned, is, I'll read it here, I wish I pursued my dreams and aspirations and not let others define my life. And you actually did it. Or you're
Well,
actually
not
doing
quite
it.
yet. November 30th is the official start date. But that last line that you just said was probably the biggest trigger that I had. Because I think all of us, we typically follow a normal script. You're supposed to have a career, have kids, have a family. You're supposed to follow these certain checklists. And for many people, most people, maybe that's nirvana and it's great. But for some people, there are other things on that checklist that just get set aside. And you figure one day I'll get to them, until one day there is no more days. Or not to be fatalist, but what happens if you're not physically able to do? You get an illness or a disease or something. For me, it was the act of turning 60 that I realized this is the time. And I think for a lot of people, this is the time that they really start thinking about it before it's too late.
Yeah. Well, and I think you already mentioned it. One of the other top ones is I wish I didn't work so hard. That regret, especially in our age group, that every male she attended to had that. Some females, but in our age group was every male.
That one actually makes me laugh because what I'm going to be doing during my time off wandering the world is actually going to be harder and more work than I do normally because I want to do this with a YouTube channel. I want to capture what I'm doing and inspiring other people. And then I look at it like, damn, I'm going to be working harder than ever by relaxing. So I don't know, maybe I need to learn that lesson still.
Well, maybe what the lesson here is that if you love what you do, that it's not work. And I mean, we've heard that over and over and over again, but it sounds like that's very true. Certainly what you're experiencing or what you're setting out to do.
It is. And you're right. I absolutely do love this. It's the thing that I just cannot wait to do is to capture and experience and I don't know, let people come along with the ride and maybe, they'll do their own ride and I'll get inspiration from them. It's not work, I think, if I know it's a trite and true saying, it's not work if you love what you do, but in this case, I can't wait to go back to working harder because I truly am going to be doing something exciting and something I can look back on and share with my kids and grandkids and everybody else and not go, just if one day I had only.
Mm-hmm. And while it's somewhat dark, to put yourself in that place, again, in reading all these articles, it wakes you up. It gets you to think, can you take that mindset that you would have on your deathbed? Can you, apply that earlier, or what if you could, what you could do. Here's another good one. That's, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings and speak my mind.
Oh, that one's pretty much all the time for me. It's, um, I, to me, that sort of plays into just being able to be open and saying what it is that you want. Because a lot of times these things that you want to do, these dreams that, one day you'll get to, I know humans are really good at coming up with excuses of why can't you? I'm not financially able. I don't want to risk this. And maybe that's why you keep quiet. Maybe that's why you keep things to yourself and just not even entertain the thought that it's a possibility.
Yeah, you just brought up a word that's an other list, but really ties into this as well, is I wish I had taken more risks. That playing it safe, just when you're at the end of your life, big regret.
That's true. And it's kind of a weird thing with me because I am a risk taker. I'm one of those idiots who'll pretty much do anything. But at the same time, I am so risk adverse when it comes to financial security. And that was the one thing that kept me from doing this, making this decision was I don't feel like I could ever have enough money or enough financial underpinnings and net to do it. And the one day I kind of realized, if you got 5, 6, 10 years of padding, when are you going to spend that 5 or 6 or 10 years? So take a risk. And, it's never going to be the right time if you live in fear that it's never going to be the right time.
Yeah. No, I agree. And somebody said that to me 10 years ago, or maybe 15, and that's like why I changed my life at 50, is I realized it just made so much sense that I didn't want to regret not having taken more risk. And I took it's been a risk. It's been a fun ride too, but I know I would have huge regrets if I didn't try to do this. So this one is hard for me. I wish I had let myself be happier. I've never quite gotten the concept of allowing allowing yourself to be happy, that happiness is a choice. Can you speak to that?
Wow, these are all just like personal body blows. Yes, I think for a lot of people, maybe they are so accustomed to put other people first. They're always their families first, their kids are first, their spouses first, their work is first. Everyone else is always first. And you never put yourself first. So if you never speak your own mind, if you never acknowledge that you're allowed to be happy, you're never going to make a decision to do something that could make you primarily happy. I think that's just another obstacle, another block for a lot of people. They use as an excuse. I have to take care of that person. I have to do this. I'll get to myself later. And you're never going to get to yourself later. Trust me, I've been doing that for many a year until I finally decided I'm going to move myself to the top of the list. Not always, but for a little while. And I think people need to make that decision.
Yeah. And really in everyday life is, there's lots of stuff written out there, how to make yourself, or how to let yourself be happy, choosing to be happy. And, a lot of times I just want to say, this is a lot easier said than done. when you're, even what we're talking about today, adapting a mindset of being on your deathbed and applying it to your life today. It's a lot harder said than done because we're not. There must be such a dramatic shift in mindset that hopefully I won't understand, for a while to come. But it absolutely gets you thinking. The other thing, there's, so many other things on lists, but like not making amends sweating the small stuff, unaccomplished goals, you're going that, words left unsaid, worrying about what others think, taking life too seriously.
I think you're doing the checklist of my life here. This is kind of scary.
But these are all expressed regrets. And I
Okay.
think a lot of our viewers, might say, why are you focusing on regrets? I don't have regrets. Regrets, it's the past. We can't change the past. I think, though, you can learn from the past. And I think we can certainly learn from what people on their deathbed have expressed. That regrets, in that sense, isn't necessarily a negative thing. How do you feel about regret?
Uh, I would tend to agree with that. You can't really focus and obsess on regrets because you're constantly thinking of what you haven't done. But what we're talking about is people who really have no more time. They've reached the point where they can only look backwards. Procrastination takes over so much that eventually regret is going to be something we have to face. There's just not going to be either enough time or enough physical ability or enough whatever to accomplish whatever it is we want to do. So if we don't want to look back and regret, it's time to start living.
Yeah. And well, not everybody might want to take such a huge step as you're doing, quitting your job, traveling the world without a real plan. One of the other big regrets is not having spent enough time with family and friends and not keeping in touch with friends. So in that sense, that's something you can do today, is to change that to where that doesn't become a regret. Any words on that?
I think everybody's pretty much individual. Maybe for some people, their regrets are going to be about close friends, close families. Other people, it might be travel. Other people, it might be a purchase. It might be learning a hobby. Everybody's going to be different, but the overarching thing is allowing yourself to actually do it, to, I don't know, sort of pre-experience in your head that you could do these things, you could enjoy life more, reach out more to family or friends. But it all starts with taking that first step. And for a lot of us, it's either we put it off till later or we're just afraid to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting subject. It really has consumed me this week thinking about that, because I'm in the process of making some changes, again, taking some more risk. And it's like, yeah, don't sweat the small stuff, because in 10, 20 years from now or on the deathbed, none of that's going to matter. Well, Rick, we're starting to come to the end of the segment. Let me ask you, what are the closing words for you on regret? What would you like to leave our audience with?
The last thing I'd like to leave is a word called flexibility. It's something I've learned. When I decided to do this around the world, quit my job trip, I had it sort of planned in my head. And every single thing that I've planned has already been undone because of things that are coming up. So I guess the biggest key is when you decide to do what it is you want to do, to enhance your life, to expand your life, just realize it's not going to work the way you think it is. And you're going to have to be adaptive. You're going to have to be flexible. But that's part of the journey. That's part of the enjoyment when things go slightly awry and you get to figure out some new fun way of doing it. And so when you do let go and when you do give yourself the freedom to do what it is you want and need to do, just go for the ride. It's going to be fun. It doesn't have to be between the guardrails all the time.
That's a great point. That's a great point. That if there's something specific you want to do, be flexible and realize it might get done in a roundabout way. I love it. And what I want to leave our audience with is something that really hit me when I heard it, and that is that we don't tend to regret what we did. We regret what we don't do. I love that. And that what all these regrets have in common has nothing to do really with material acquisitions or everything is centered around experiential stuff with family, friends, and how you felt about certain things. Anyway, thank you for having this conversation with me. I think it's an important conversation. We'll link to some of these articles. We'll of course link to your channel and the video that I saw that prompted this conversation, and people can follow you around for the next 2 years. So thank you so much, Rick, and we'll see you soon on Second Act TV. If you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right here. And if there's a topic that you'd like to have us cover, please visit our website, secondact.tv. There's a little red suggestion box in the upper right-hand corner of our site. Just click on that, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.